Today, the youngins are going to learn what it used to be like to use a computer. And those of us who are older are going to just enjoy the nostalgia. I'm also going to be showing some lesser known, well, at least now lesser known DOS games. Here I'm walking you through a version of Windows 3.1 that I downloaded. I don't really know how to really customize a lot of this stuff. I mean, I can barely use DOSBox, so I'm just going through basically showing you what I used to do as a kid with a 386. My first computer was a 286, and that was basically just very simple programming, used a floppy disk. The most exciting thing I ever did on it was play some Hunt for Red October game and do some word processing. Yeah, but at least it got me to stretch my writing muscles. So here I'm just showing you all the different options as far as the desktop stuff goes, just to kind of give you a feel for how it works. Windows hasn't really changed that much. Yes, the clock. Now that thing, you know, when we were kids, like, it was just amazing that it would display the time. So this is what Solitaire used to look like. It's a very basic thing. I figured we'd start as far as games with Solitaire, so you can just see how Microsoft used to do it. It's pretty straightforward. It's no different than any other Solitaire game pretty much after it. Windows 3.1 was a revolution because you didn't need to use DOS, and you could look at your files in an actual window instead of having to look at the directory and remember whatever the heck file you wanted. So here we're looking at some files, and I'm going to try to open a few games in Windows and just see what happens. I'm also going to go into DOS and do the same. So here I've only set up one D drive. I could set up other drives, but unfortunately the way it works is the disks look for the D drive. So if I don't have the proper ROM or ISO or whatever plugged into the DVD drive, then it ain't gonna work. So yeah, it still didn't work. This is what errors looked like. They weren't fun back then. They're not fun now, but at least you don't really hear some really horrible sounds. Speaking of sound, yeah, the Windows sound recorder was amazing. So here I've loaded a game called Number Munchers, which was something we used to play in elementary school. Unfortunately, I don't really have that much confidence in my math skills, so I'm just gonna go ahead and select elementary school, grade 5 as well. There's all these different parameters you can set up. I'm not gonna bother. I just wanted to walk you guys through this game because it is a classic. So since this is running off my Windows emulator, I don't know if it's just some kind of an improv sound blaster or what. So unfortunately I couldn't answer that question. So here I have to find equations that are not equal to 10. Seems easy enough. Notice I passed 36 divided by 4. That equals 9, son! So what happens is, as you're doing this, these troggles come by and they either will switch things or they'll put down a new equation from an area that you already took an equation from, which is slightly annoying. So there you can see I errored just to show you what happened. And yeah, this was my early childhood. It was actually, you know, a normal thing for us to go to the computer lab and play this game. So here with this version of Windows, you can kind of see where modern Windows came from. That little program menu thing is effectively a start button. And, you know, it's the same general idea. The bad part about the whole Windows thing was it was just this crazy cascade. And I'm not showing you what that looks like because it looks like garbage. But anyway, here I'm going to play a classic game. And this I first played on a laptop that my father brought home. It was his work laptop. And back then, laptops were only in black and white. So yeah, that even being able to play this game in black and white was amazing. Jezzball was cloned a gajillion times. I think it was available up until Windows 95. Could be wrong. I don't think it was included in 98 because they had pinball and such. And they just made better games by that point. So the object here, as you can see, is just to take away as much of the grid as you can to meet a certain criteria. I think it's around 80%. So yeah, this back in the day would keep us amused for hours. And it's not like your silly cell phone games where stuff runs out. You could just keep playing Jezzball forever. This was one of my favorites, even though I was very young when it came out. It's Sid Meier's Colonization. And Sid Meier went on to do a boatload of other video games. He did stuff for 286 as well. And it's mostly resource management and stuff. So here I'm showing you all the different jazz here. And I wound up just deciding to load a game. And I'm going to load a couple games. And I'm going to show you just the gameplay. And to tell you the truth, even if you cheat at this game, if you use cheats, it's still slow and it's still monotonous because it's all turn-based. And of course, granted, at the time it wasn't monotonous. It was so much fun to do this when I was a kid. I think I played this game easily until I was 12 years old. And you can attack other ships and so on. But the main issue is the fact that it's all this management, and it's something that you basically need a strategy guide for. So here we're looking at a specific town, and you can see all the assets on the bottom there. And we'll be going back to that screen. I think I was trying to figure out how to put the troops onto the ship so I could bring them somewhere else. But here I'm just doing some basic moving of pieces, and you can see that for every unit that I have, they get X amount of square spaces. So, you know, a soldier will get 1, dragoons will get 3. I'm not claiming that my numbers are accurate, but it's something like that. So right now, just to show you some action, I'm sending as many people as I can over to this little Indian settlement here. So you can actually be nice to the American Indians and they will help you out. They'll give you things in this game. Of course, it depends on who you are, what country. Spain, you get more points if you just demolish any type of indigenous peoples. But, you know, you can sometimes find treasures, all sorts of stuff. Anyway, as I'm talking, you can see I'm still pointing all of my forces this way. So, yeah. And then the computer makes its turn with the other countries. So this happens like a gajillion times. But it was still fun back in the day. And it's still fun today if you just kind of use your imagination and just have some patience with it. So I'm unsure what I'm doing. I think I'm going to have this ship go back to England. Oh no, or I may still be figuring out, trying to figure out how to get those guys on the boat. Yeah. So game interfacing or controls or whatever, it wasn't so easy back in the day. There were standards for first-person shooters, but outside of that, not many standards, unfortunately. So some games you could left and right click, others you couldn't. So at this point I'm just settling. I just put some goods in the tank there. And now we shove her off to England. Alright, so this guy, I'm going to have him go over there. So this way you don't have to do step by step on your own. You can just tell this unit, go to the square, which is nice. But you still have to sit there and watch the turn play. Some of the music to this thing was tolerable, others weren't. It turns out you can actually go and select certain music, which is good. At least they put that option in. So, as you can see with the battles, it's showing you good, bad, and the ugly. I'm not going over the tactics of this, so I don't really find any need to explain all this jazz. And frankly, I don't explain completely everything about this game either, because it's mighty, mighty complicated. So there you go, the Spanish burned down a camp, and they got 200 gold out of it. Now, what you're not gonna see, because I have good resource management here, is every now and then, when your turn starts, the forts or whatever, the villages will start bitching like, hey, we need food. Hey, we need grain. Oh, we ran out of muskets. You know, and it's just like, dude. And every time, you can't turn it off. It just tells you that, basically. It's boatloads of fun. What is cool is you can name your own cities. You can also, like, I think at one point I named a part of the south of the map Havana Unana. As you can see from the map on the top right there, it doesn't really resemble the American continent, at least that I know of anyway. It definitely seems like the North Pole is, I don't know, like, is that Cuba? I don't know. I just, and the French, you know, put Montreal, so it makes you think, oh, well, that must be Canada. No, it's just randomly placed tiles. So it would have been really cool if they stuck to real geography. So here, I am showing you all the BS that you have to do to load in DOSBox. And for those of us who lived at the time, yeah, we know the struggle. But look at it again. It was crazy, man. Those of you who haven't ever seen DOS, see that error I just made? It's because I typed one thing wrong, and now I have to go back and look at the directory to figure out what I did wrong, which is, needless to say, very annoying. And even when you have it paused like that, you could accidentally skip over something. So I mean, I lived in these times. I used DOS. I loaded files, the whole 9 yards. But I do not miss this. Now this game is really cool. I think it's lesser known. First-person shooter, Star Wars. So I'm not going to play much, just show you a little bit. So you can see the gameplay is very standard to first-person shooters. I tried to insert a code that would get me to the next level, and I didn't realize that I loaded the demo. So now I'm going in to get the real Dark Forces out. So this is the fun of DOS, you see, kids? Oh yeah, LucasArts, baby. We're skipping the story because back then the games were lame, but you are going to watch some of the cinema to it, and I mean, at the time it was amazing. Check it out.
Kyle delivers the plans to the Rebel Alliance. Soon afterwards, the Death Star is destroyed. But even as the Alliance celebrates this victory, another sinister plot is set in motion that will become an even greater concern for the Rebellion.
Emperor has approved your test demonstration, General Monk.
Thank you, Lord Vader. What I unveil today will mark a new era for the Empire. We will be able to decimate the rebels just as we did the Jedi Knights.
Hopefully this will show you where video games came from. And, I mean, keep in mind, the first video games are just text adventures, so this was amazing.
Certainly, Lord Vader.
So, another amazing thing that came out was Mad Dog McCree, or McGee, I don't know, I think it's McCree, actually. Great game, really cool, check it out.
In the air. It's an ill wind that blows no good. Man and his band of cutthroats riding into town. Plumb scared to death. Town's deserted. Tumbleweed doesn't blow across the streets today. As these hombres are vicious, equipped with guns. Sure, we got a sheriff. Sling. Let's see what kind of a shot you are.
So this game started as an arcade game, and once the ability to put all this media on a fast-reading CD existed, they basically just duplicated it for PC, which is why you have to reload and all that stuff. On the arcades, you would have to basically shoot the bottom of the screen. So here's the game.
We need your help. Mad Dog McCree's gang is taking over the town. Meier and his daughter have been taken hostage out to Mad Dog's hideout. Sheriff, he's locked up in jail. We're going to have to get him out to help with the gang. Can you help? Good. One more important thing. Hey, old codger! Hey, now that's good shooting, stranger. What I was going to tell you is the keys to get the sheriff out of jail are with One-Eyed Jack. And he's in the saloon drinking. Now go get him!
So this was one of the first computer games that I played anyway that had a video, like real actual video on it. It was grainy, it wasn't amazing, I know. But still, the fact that what you did would have an impact on the video playback was amazing.
Be careful, that's Mad Dog's boys over there.
Looking at my keys, stranger? You wouldn't be trying to get the sheriff out of jail now, would you? Chaco! Huh? Show him what we did to trouble him.
Thanks, stranger. I'll forever beholden to you. I know you're looking for Mad Dog.
That was a good woman you shot. Population 64. It's showdown time, stranger. So holster your iron. We're gonna see how fast you can draw. You'll either be mighty quick or, well, that's why we gotta boot Hill. You better get lucky, or you're gonna be dead. You've only got one life left.
There are more levels on this, I'm just not showing them to you. And you have to remember that this game came from the arcade, and this would have been done in, I'm sure, a larger CRT monitor than your average 386 would have back then.
Behind the door! He's got a gun!
What's also cool is they sold a little plastic pistol that worked with this, so you could hook it up to your computer and play
Thank
the
God
game.
you're here with the keys. I gotta get out of here. Mad Dog, you don't stand a chance. Let's go get him, stranger.
By the way, kids, twirling a loaded gun is not a safe thing to do.
I got him. Hey!
Looks like this good old boy's seen his last gunfight. Time to take him to Brood Hill.
The last game we're going to look at today is called Day of the Tentacle. It was released in 1993, originally for DOS, I believe. It uses Scum VM. I'm assuming that that's why I had trouble loading it on either my Windows simulation, or emulation rather, or just my DOS box, which is a DOS emulation. So I wound up just using what I always use, which is Scum. It's basically an interface that was created for this game. This game is a sequel to Maniac Mansion, which was not just for computer, but it came out on the NES, or the Nintendo Entertainment System. So there's mostly just footage here, but I hope you enjoy.
I'm thirsty.
I don't think you should drink that. It looks bad for you.
Nonsense. It makes me feel great. Smarter. More aggressive. I feel like I could. Like I could. Like I could. Take on the world.
Look, Hoagie, it's a hamster. Just what I need for dissection lab tomorrow.
I think I need that for the band, Laverne. You know, like we could bite its head off or whatever.
Hands off that hamster.
Friend of yours, Bernard?
He belongs to Weird Ed Edison, and it looks like he's brought us a note. It's from my old friend, Green Tentacle. He says that Purple Tentacle's mutated into an insane genius, and Dr. Fred's going to kill them both. I thought I was free of Dr. Fred and those crazy Edisons forever. But now I know that I must go back to the mansion. Okay, we'll spread out commando style. Laverne, you go secure the area behind those double doors. Hoagie, you take care of upstairs reconnaissance. I'll maintain Command HQ here, in the lobby.
What are we looking for?
We've got to find where Dr. Fred is holding the tentacles.
This better not take too long. I've got an anatomy final tomorrow.
And I've got a show to set up later tonight. If I'm late, I don't get to test the drums.
If I know Dr. Fred, he's got the tentacles tied up in his secret lab. Question is, where's his secret lab?
So in its time, this was called a point-and-click game. You had to pick up certain
It doesn't
things.
seem to open.
You can also read them.
It's
There, I
from
just
George's hardware. George says that every American should have a vacuum cleaner in their basement.
Now the help sign is my favorite. But I guess I don't have Bernard read it. So here you can see I'm just poking around, and I'm just showing you guys the basic mechanics of gameplay. I cannot get into this game, it's too crazy.
I'd rather not. Gee, Dr. Fred doesn't have a penny.
So, I do have a full playthrough on my channel.
There's something funny about that clock. Aha! A secret passage. This is all too easy.
Laverne, how'd you get upstairs?
Am I upstairs? I got lost.
Seen any tentacles?
What's a tentacle?
Oh, just something I whipped up in my spare time. Made good pets, actually. Until one of them tried to take over the world. Had to tie the little buggers up in the basement.
Good thing you told us that.
Yeah, Bernard wanted us to set them free.
Thank God you weren't that stupid. Did you say Bernard?
Okay, you're free to go.
Thanks, Bernard.
Yes, thank you, naive human. Now I can finish taking over the world.
Wait!
Oh, yeah. Now I remember. He's incredibly evil, isn't he?
I'll try to talk him out of it.
Well, what possible harm could one insane mutant tentacle do?
Leaping lab rats!
Dr. Fred.
What have you done this time, you meddling milquetoast? Now Purple Tentacle is free to use his evil mutant powers to take over the world and enslave all humanity!
Whoops.
Our only hope now is to turn off my sludge-o-matic machine and prevent the toxic mutagen from entering the river.
Isn't it a little late for that, Doctor?
Of course. That's why I'll have to do it. Yesterday, through the time machine.
So Dr. Fred winds up recruiting them
This
for the
is
time
all
machine.
your fault, Bernard.
Behold, children, the Chronogon.
Doc, can't you just send Bernard?
No, you must all go to increase the odds that one of you will make it there alive.
Have any people ever been hurt in this thing?
Of course not. This is the first time I've ever tried it on people. Well, I'll be.
Bernard, float over here so I can punch you.
This must be that Woodstock place Mom and Dad are always talking about.
What could it all mean?
I don't know. I don't want to know.
Die. Die.
We made...
So yeah, I mean, I figured I showed you enough video to give you an idea of the plot, which was meaningful. It was a good plot compared to other video games at the time. And the interactiveness of this, of course, is not to the level of Mad Dog McCree.
I'll use the Chronogon
or whatever, but it's pretty cool. And what's also cool is it has basically cause and effect relationships with time. So here we're with Hoagie, who's in the past, and you can see it's the same layout and everything. So here I just put this in here to show you guys this little funny skit.
Boy, it's sure quiet in here.
This is the Constitution.
I wonder if there might be any ideas worth discussing in the suggestion box. Maybe somebody should take a look.
I say, lads, I have an idea.
Does it have anything to do with starting a fire?
No. I was thinking it's about time we open the suggestion box. Don't you agree?
Sure, George, if you say so.
Yes, whatever you think is fine with us.
Excellent.
What's he thinking? No one of any importance has been here all day. What could be in the suggestion box?
Perhaps he intends to suggest something himself.
Oh.
Here's a suggestion. It says, George says that every American should have a vacuum cleaner in their basement. What do you think, gentlemen?
Whatever you say, George.
Your name's on it. I'm sure you must have a good reason for suggesting it.
Yes. It's strange. I don't quite... Well, I'm sure I had a reason for it. If there are no objections, we shall add it to the Constitution immediately. No? Good, and so shall it be law.
What's a vacuum cleaner?
Now we're going to get a little bit more into the gameplay, and I'm going to show you the cause-effect relationships in this game. It's essentially the same as... How come I can't remember? It was a trilogy, Back to the Future. It's the same as Back to the Future, where what you do in the past affects the future, and what you do in the future might affect the past. So here, I had to stop
What's
and
up?
talk to Ted.
Don't feel like talking, huh? Vow of silence or something, probably, right? Well, that's cool. Great hat, man. I know some dudes in a band who'd eat roaches for hats like that. Later, dude.
So now I'm going down to see Red Edison. Everyone is named some ED. Ted Edison, Red Edison, Fred Edison.
Super battery, eh? Brilliant design. Sometimes I amaze myself. Now all I need is oil, vinegar, and some gold.
So now I'm going back to Bernard because I need to send Hoagie this.
Help wanted. Lab assistant. Hard-working moronic drone needed to assist genius with experiments. High school diploma not required.
What's this? Help wanted, moronic drone, assist genius, yada yada yada. Well, I'm the only genius around, and you look dumb enough. So pick up your lab coat and get to work.
So in a second I'm going to demonstrate that the video game doesn't make it that hard because you'll only see text
Not
on
my
things
type.
that you want to interact with.
Say, that's a left-handed hammer, you know. I invented it myself. It was for my ungrateful slob of a left-handed son. Oh, well.
So now... Oh.
Get me down from here!
Now I'm going to show the causal relationships here. So I need to go acquire some red paint. And again, you can see that this environment is the same, which is handy. I'm sure both in programming and playing the game. I know for sure in playing, and I assume for programming because I am no computer whiz, that's for sure.
The late Max Addix. His petard runneth over. A lamentable fate for such a patriotic dude.
For me, as a kid, This game was just epic, and it was one of a few that I had, including Oregon Trail and a few others. My mother used to also buy a lot of the shareware stuff. Basically, computer programmers would just all throw games that they made on a disc, and it was shareware. So these were the days when people would pack stuff on a CD and sell it to you for $3 or $4. Games on it would be as simple as Solitaire, Mahjong, the, basic classics, but there were also some adventure games too. It was a mixed bag, and I'm still hunting around to figure out some of those titles today, because there were some games that I really, really enjoyed. So now we're going to go through some dialogue. Now that I've painted the tree, we're going to go through some dialogue with Mr. George Washington
Excuse
himself.
me.
Yes?
What are you looking at out there?
The future of our nation.
Those outhouses?
No. I was just admiring my reflection in the window. Striking, aren't I?
Whoa, you're like George Washington.
Very much like him, according to my wife, Mrs. Washington.
Does Mrs. Washington know you wear so much makeup?
One must wear makeup when one receives the phenomenal amount of media attention that I do. It's quite likely that I'll be president soon, Do you think I should be the ecology president or the education president?
Depends on how many cherry trees you've chopped down.
Well, I am quite the adept tree cutter. Men still tell tales of my youthful prowess.
I bet you've lost it. You couldn't cut down a tree to save your grandmother.
Lost it, have I? Why, I'd show you a thing or two if there were a cherry tree nearby. But as you can see, well, what do you know? There is a cherry tree out there. Well, let's go chop the sucker down.
I said come down from there at once!
Try to understand. I'm stuck in this...
Voila!
You're quite a man.
Yes, I know.
Get me out of here! I haven't done any... You-hoo, Mr. Tentacle Guy?
What?
Ooh, I don't feel so good. I think I'm going to throw up all over.
Uh-oh. Time to visit Dr. Tentacle.
Well, what have we here?
I feel pukey.
Indeed. All right, now hold still.
Are you gonna use your scalpel?
No, of course not.
Darn. Do you want to use mine?
No.
What? What?
Just as I suspected.
What?
There's nothing wrong with you, human.
What a letdown.
Well, I'm late for the show. I'll send your keeper back for you. Oh. Sit. Stay. Good boy.
I hope you guys enjoyed checking out or remembering these old games. They're games that I played as a kid, and I still play some of these games today.
They've got the spleen mixed up with the liver.
Thanks for stopping by and taking this trip down memory lane, Windows 3.1, DOS, the whole 9 yards. And remember remember that a couple of these fun VM games are already on my channel as playthroughs, so if you don't have access, check them out. Bye.